this is Professor Deering. For today's mini-lecture, we're going to answer a very important question for our course. Why did we start in 1492? The easy answer is that Columbus began the process of westward exploration in 1492. But a better question might be, why did Columbus set sail in 1492 at all? Why not 1450 or 1503? We will discuss the 5 factors that played a role in Columbus making his first voyage to what is often called the New World. The first factor that influenced the push for exploration of the Western Hemisphere was money. The Middle East, Africa, and Asia contain many valuable resources, including spices, silks, tea, porcelain, and gold. Europeans who wanted to access these valuable resources had to travel all the way across Europe to their destinations on horseback or on foot. This journey was not only long, it could take years to make one trip, but it was also very dangerous. Hostile groups and the dangers of traveling made the trip hazardous and costly. For nations like Spain and Portugal on the western side of the European continent, undertaking the land journey to the east was even more difficult. Fortunately for them, new technologies began to develop that would allow for longer travel by sea, which would make the trip faster than traveling by land. Prince Henry of Portugal made it his mission to find a way for the Portuguese to sail to Africa and from there to the Middle East and Asia. The development of a new kind of ship called the caravel was the first step. The caravel was a small, easily maneuverable boat with lateen or triangular sails. The caravels had shallow hulls, which also meant that they could sail upriver or near to the shore. The lateen sails helped the caravels to catch the wind and made them faster than ships with square sails. The Portuguese also developed 2 tools, the compass and the quadrant, that allowed navigators to determine with increased accuracy where they were and where the caravel was headed. With these tools, the Portuguese began exploring the coastline of Africa in the 1450s and 60s. By 1485, the Portuguese had made it all the way to Benin, a wealthy African city that specialized in bronze statues. The Portuguese eventually established trading posts called factories, because they were headed by factors, all along the African coast to trade goods with Benin and other African nations. They also established sugar plantations that were worked by African slave labor. The Spanish were envious of the wealth that the Portuguese had acquired through their sugar plantations and trade with Benin. And this is where Christopher Columbus enters our story. Christopher Columbus was an Italian explorer and trader who had spent most of his life sailing in the Mediterranean. He didn't believe the world was flat. Almost no one did. But he did believe that the world was considerably smaller than it actually was. Columbus believed that you could easily sail westward from Europe and reach Asia, but he needed the financial support of a monarch in order to test his theory. Columbus proposed his plan to several European rulers, including King Henry VII of England and King John II of Portugal, but both declined to support him, believing that he was incorrect about the distance. But King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain accepted his proposal. Which brings us to a second question. Why Spain? Before 1469, Spain was comprised of many warring kingdoms and occupied by a significant population of Muslims, who are often called the Moors by Europeans. They had occupied Spain for over 700 years. In 1469, Ferdinand and Isabella married, uniting the kingdoms of Aragon and Castile. This alliance gave Ferdinand and Isabella the resources to slowly push the Muslims out of the country of Spain. This conflict is known as the Reconquista. By 1492, the last Muslim stronghold fell to the Spanish. The Muslims who lived in Spain at the time were given the choice to convert to Catholicism and live under the rule of Ferdinand and Isabella, or to leave the country. By the time Columbus arrived to make his proposal, the royal pair, who had spent their entire adult lives battling the Moors, were out of enemies. In addition to forcing the Muslims out of Spain, the Catholic monarchs also forced Jews to convert or leave the country. converted Jews could face further investigation from the Spanish Inquisition, and so most Jews chose to leave rather than to face an uncertain future under the Catholic monarchs. All unconverted Jews were given 3 months to leave the country. More than 200,000 Jewish families were forced to sell their homes and businesses at extremely low prices and flee Spain. Because of this, the royal coffers grew immensely, and so Ferdinand and Isabella had plenty of funds to build new caravels and hire sailors to go with Columbus on his first expedition. By the fall of 1492, Columbus, along with 3 ships, left Spain and sailed to the Bahamas. He believed he had reached the Indies, despite evidence to the contrary. He made 3 more journeys to the Western Hemisphere and established the Spanish colony on the island of Hispaniola, where modern Haiti and the Dominican Republic are. He wasn't the first explorer to reach the Western Hemisphere. Most people think that was a Viking. But after his voyage, life in the Americas changed forever. The rest of the week we'll be discussing exactly how life changed for Native Americans and for the Spanish colonizing in the New World. Have a great day!